Students of 8th class, good morning. आज हम चैप्टर 3 के बाद चैप्टर 4 रीडिंग कराने जा रहे हैं। आज 4th चैप्टर है बिपिन चौधरीज लैप्स ऑफ मेमोरी। मेमोरी याददाश्त, लैप्स का मतलब कम होना। बिफोर यू रीड, पढ़ने से पहले, डू यू हैव अ गुड मेमोरी? हैज़ योर मेमोरी एवर प्लेड एनी ट्रिक्स ऑन यू? Forgetfulness often puts you in a right spot, but forgetting a part of your life completely may drive you crazy. In this story, Bipin Babu goes nearly crazy because he cannot recollect his stay at Ranchi. He has never been to Ranchi. He insists, though there are many witnesses to the contrary. What is the suspense all about? First part. Every Monday, on his way back from work, Bipin Chaudhary would drop in at Kali Charan's in New Market to buy books. Crime stories, ghost stories, and thrillers. He had to buy at least 5 at a time to last him through the week. He lived alone, was not a good mixer, had few friends, and didn't like spending time in idle chat. Today, at Kalichand's, Bipin Babu had the feeling that someone was observing him from close quarters. He turned round and found himself looking at a round-faced, meek-looking man who now broke into a smile. I don't suppose you recognize me. Have we met before? Asked Bipin Babu. The man looked greatly surprised. We met every day for a whole week. I arranged for a car to take you to the Hudru Falls. In 1958, in Ranchi, my name is Parimal Ghosh, Ranchi. Now Bipin Babu realized that it was not he, but this man who was making a mistake. Bipin Babu had never been to Ranchi. He had been at the point of going several times, but never made it. He smiled and said, "Do you know who I am?" The man raised his eyebrows, bit his tongue, and said, "Do I know you?" Who doesn't know Bipin Chaudhary? Bipin Babu knew, now turned towards the bookshelves and said, "Still you are making a mistake. One often does. I have never been to Ranchi." The man now laughed aloud. "What are you saying, Mr. Chaudhary? You had a fallen hudro and cut your right knee. I brought you iodine. I had fixed up a car for you to go to Netrat the next day, but you couldn't because of the pain in the knee. Can't you recall anything? Someone else you know was also in Ranchi at that time, Mr. Dinesh Mukherjee. You stayed in a bungalow. You said you didn't like hotel food and would prefer to have your meals cooked by a bawarchi. Mr. Mukherjee stayed with his sister. You had a big argument about the moon landing. Remember, I shall tell you more. You always carried a bag with your books in it on your right, saying trips. Am I right or not? Bipin Babu spoke quietly, his eyes still on the books. Which months in 58 are you talking about? The man said, October. No, sir, said Bipin Babu. I spent puja in 58 with a friend in Kanpur. You are making a mistake. Good day. But the man didn't go, nor did he stop talking. Very strange. One evening I had tea with you in a veranda of your bungalow. You spoke about your family. You said you had no children and that you had lost your wife 10 years ago. Your only brother had died insane, which is why you didn't want to visit the mental hospital in Ranchi. When Bipin Babu had paid for the books and was leaving the shop, the man was still looking at him in utter disbelief. Bipin Babu's car was safely parked in Bartram Street by the Lighthouse Cinema. He told the driver as he got into the car, just drive by the Ganga. Will you? Sitaram driving up the Strand Road. Bipin Babu regretted having paid so much attention to the intruder. He had never been to Ranchi. No question about it. It was inconceivable that he should forget such an incident. which took place only 6 or 7 years ago. He had an excellent memory, unless Bipin Babu had reeled. Was he losing his mind? But how could that be? He was working daily in his office. It was a big firm and he was doing a responsible job. He wasn't aware of anything ever going seriously wrong. Only today he spoke for half an hour at an important meeting. And yet the man knew a great deal about him. How? He even seemed to know some intimate details. The bag of books, wife's death, brother's insanity, the only of books, wife's death, brother's insanity, the only mistake. Vows about his having gone to Ranchi, not a mistake, a deliberate lie in 58 during the pujas. He was in Kanpur at his friend Haridas Bagchi place. All Bipin Babu had to do was write to know there was no way of writing to Haridas. Bipin Babu suddenly remembered that Haridas had left with his wife for Japan some weeks ago and he didn't have his address. But where was the need for proof? He himself was fully aware that he hadn't been to Ranchi, and that was that. The river breeze was bracing, and yet a slight discomfort lingered in Bipin Babu's mind. Around Hastings, Bipin Babu decided to roll up his trousers and take a look at his right knee. There was the mark of an old inch. Long cut, it was impossible to tell when the injury had occurred. Had he never had a fall as a boy and cut his knee? He tried to recall such an incident but couldn't. Then Bipin Babu suddenly thought of a Dinesh Mukherjee. The man had said that Dinesh was in Ranchi. At the same time, the best thing surely would be to ask him. He lived quite near in Bennanandan Street. What about going right now? But then, if he had really never been to Ranchi, what would Dinesh think? If Bipin Babu asked for a confirmation, he would probably conclude Bipin Babu was going nuts. No, it would be ridiculous to ask him, and he knew how ruthless Dennis's shack, shackism could be sipping a cold drink in his air-conditioned living room. Bipin Babu felt at ease again. Such a nonsense, just because they have nothing else to do. They go about getting into other people's hair after dinner, snuggling in bed with one of the new thrillers. Bipin Babu forgot all about the man in Newmarket. Next day in the office, Bipin Babu noticed that with every passing hour, the previous day's encounter was occupying more and more of his mind. If the man knew so much about Bipin Babu, how could he make such a mistake about the Ranchi trip? Just before lunch, Bipin Babu decided to ring up Dinesh Mukherjee. It was better to settle the questions over the phone. At least the embarrassment on his face wouldn't show. 235616 Bipin Babu dialed the number. Hello, is that Dinesh? This is Bipin here. Well, what's the news? I just wanted to find out if you recalled an incident which took place in 58. 58? What incident? Were you in Calcutta right through that year? That is the first thing I have got to know. Wait, just a minute. 58, just let me check in my diary. For a minute, there was a silence. Bipin Babu could feel that his heartbeat had gone up. He was sweating a little. Hello. Yes, I have got it. I had been out twice. Where? Once in February, nearby to Krishnanagar to a nephew's wedding. And then, but you had know about this one, the trip to Ranchi. You were there too. That is all. But what is all this? Slitching about? No. I just wanted to. Anyway, thanks. Bipin Babu slammed the receiver down and gripped his head with his hands. He left his head swimming. A chill seemed to spread over his body. There were sandwiches in his tiffin box, but he didn't eat them. He had lost his appetite. सो थैंक्स द स्टूडेंट्स. फर्स्ट एंड सेकंड पार्ट की रीडिंग कंप्लीट हो गई है. आप फर्स्ट सेकंड पार्ट की रीडिंग ही करेंगे. थैंक्स.